Alright, so what's up everybody? Figured I'd throw this video out there. I don't think I've ever actually done one of these videos. They're kind of clickbaity, I guess. But anyway, we'll do one on the bolts here. The 5 things that I hate about the Yamaha bolts. And before we even get started, let me just go ahead and say these are pretty trivial in my eyes. There's really nothing I absolutely hate. Maybe one thing, and I'll specify which one that is that I actually hate. But the rest of them, more like just a small nuisance. So anyway, starting up front, the rubber mounted risers. So if you've got a stock bolt, I just hate rubber mounted risers on any bike. But on a heavier cruiser type bike, like, you can just feel it so much. Just picking the bike up off the stand, just riding it, hitting the brakes, accelerating. I felt like all I could feel was the fact that my bars were moving, and it just bugged the piss out of me. So anyway, I've remedied that with a couple of large washers from Lowe's. And it was like $3. There's a company that sells a kit, maybe more than one company that sells a kit. But if you get a 37, I think it's 37 millimeter washer from Lowe's, it'll press into the top of your triple tree. You don't actually have to press it in when you're tightening down your risers. Whoa, caught me off guard. When you're retightening your risers down, it'll just suck it in. What else? Okay, so moving back from the risers, the gas cap. Like, my oh my, this chrome gas cap sticks out like a sore thumb on a bike that literally has no chrome on it anywhere. I mean, other than the obvious, the forks are chromed because they, kind of have to be, but no other chrome pretty much anywhere on the bike. Everything else is powder coated black, brushed aluminum, or is painted for whatever your particular model bolt is, the color scheme is. And then you've got a chrome bezel here and a chrome gas cap. The other thing that pisses me off about the gas cap is the fact that it's keyed. Like, just give me like a Sportster style cap that I just screw on and off. I don't want to have to take my key out of the ignition, especially when the ignition's not even something that made my top 5 list here. So I guess I'm going to go past more than 5, but the key's in a god-awful spot too, but it really don't bother me that much. Not nearly as much as the gas cap. So the gas cap sticks out like a sore thumb, looks awful, and it's keyed, which pisses me off every time I stop because I got to take the key out of the ignition, and the ignition's in a crappy spot. Alright, so that's 2 things. Item number 3 is the factory airbox. Now granted, I didn't really expect them to do something amazing with this airbox, but I mean, it's a little in the way. It's not the looks of the airbox that get me so hot and bothered, it's the position of it. And that's why this bike doesn't have forward controls off the showroom floor. Because if they put forward controls on it from the showroom floor, I don't know if you can see this, but it'd be like even more in the way. Now, you can put forward controls on it, you can put highway bars on it, and yes, it works just fine with the stock airbox. Point being, people would complain about it even more if it came with those, because it would just be a hair more in your way. I feel like that's probably one of the deciding factors for where they positioned the factory pegs. The mid controls, which is one of the things I do like on this bike, is the mid controls. But like this air cleaner, they could have done just a hair better as far as trimming it out for a little more leg room. Let's see, so that's the 3rd thing. I have forgotten the 4th thing. I really have forgotten the fourth thing. I should have maybe wrote it down. That would have maybe been ideal. So there you go, point taken. If I can't even remember it, it must not have been that big of a deal. But anyway, we'll carry right on with it. I can't remember if this is one of the things or not. I just thought of it. The right hand buttons. So the left hand buttons controls the bright switch, the indicator switch, and the horn switch. They're all fine. But the selector switches on the right hand control for toggling through your options on the speedo, like your trip meter and your clock and stuff. And I don't know if they're all this way, but I mean, like, I'm pressing this one, you know, pretty firmly. Like, it's a good press, and it doesn't do anything. Like, you have to actually, I'm talking, press it. And that was a really good press. I got nothing out of it. I mean, you have got to absolutely press it. I don't know if it's just mine. I don't know if it's because it doesn't have a ton of miles on it. It's still less than 1,000 miles. Maybe it'll kind of get a little better. But I mean, you've got to press it. You can't just click it and cycle through it. Again, that's a real nitpicky thing, but it's just the little things with this bike. That's what kind of adds up, because there's really nothing super seriously wrong with it, in my opinion. So the one thing that I mentioned earlier in the video that is like my only serious complaint with this bike, and that is the fuel tank. The fuel tank on this bike is too small. And I'm pretty sure I know why they chose the capacity size tank that they chose. Because when you're sitting on the bike and you're looking down at the top of the engine, they didn't want the front cylinder head sticking out past the tank. They've almost, if you stand behind the bike and look down over the top of it, you'll notice that the width of the tank in your eyesight, on your line of sight, is the same width as the front cylinder head, almost exactly. So I feel like that's why the tank it's as narrow as they could get it without it being so narrow that when you're riding the bike you see the front cylinder. However, if the tank was the same width at the rear and was an extra 2 inches wider at the front, an inch per side, it would gain you an extra half gallon of fuel, thus giving this bike a range till empty of about 200 miles. And any bike that cannot go 200 miles on a tank has got too small of a tank. Now, if you're building a custom bike, some little hardtail bobber or something, you want to put like a 3/4 gallon peanut tank on it or something, that's fine. But if you're selling bikes to the general public and they're not one-off build, I mean, you're a Yamaha, it's what you do. You build pianos and you build motorcycles. It's what you do. And they've put too small of a tank on it. Granted, I've never ran out of gas. I don't know exactly when it runs out of gas, but 160 is about all she's got. I don't know if I've seen anyone claim higher than 160 miles to the tank. But 200 should be the minimum, in my opinion. So I don't know if that was 5 things or not. It may have been 6. I can't remember, and I feel like I forgot one of the things I was even planning to talk about. So yeah, we got rubber mounted risers. Get those things off there. They suck. I hadn't figured out what to do with the gas cap yet, but man, I wish I could get something that did not require a key and looked like kind of decent. I'm going to take this bezel off and paint it eventually, so that's not a huge deal. The buttons on the right-hand side of the handlebars suck as far as the select and reset switches for the odometer. They suck. The air cleaner is in the way, and the fuel tank's too small. So, 6 things maybe? I don't know, I'm still not counting. But regardless, those are the things that piss me off about the Yamaha boat. All of them pretty juvenile with the exception of the tank. The tank size really does kind of rub me the wrong way. But I'm back to my destination, so we'll catch you on the next one.